Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to Funktasy Unmuted. Today we have a panel full of social media and graphic design experts from Funktasy's very own social media department. Now, in today's episode, we will be trying to understand this major phenomenon that's shaping the internet and I think even culture as a whole. We're going to be talking specifically about short form video and content, which didn't just become popular. That would be an understatement. It's definitely almost default video format for most of us, how we consume content online. So instead of talking about how to use short form video, we want to focus more on a more fundamental question, which is why did this short format come to dominate the internet in the first place? And I think to begin answering that question, we need to start with something even more basic, which is when we say short form content, what are we actually talking about?
So short form content isn't necessarily just about length in itself. It's about design, it's about intention, it's about how you are actually consuming the context, but also it's another way that users can storytell their business just within seconds. It can be very brief, it can be engaging, and it's just a way for the viewers to digest the content even easier.
Yeah, so going based off of that, there's like four things that all of them kind of have in common. I'll start with the first one. It's called hook first structure. It's basically like if the video doesn't grab your attentions in the first 2 seconds, it's dead. You guys see it all the time. We see it in the core trends, so like blank blank core, and that's like the most like efficient that we've kind of seen because it already tells you what the video is about in the middle, and then you basically know right off the bat what it's about.
Yeah, number two is that it's loopable by design. So like the more that it's just like a seamless loop, the better it is because the completion rate, like it just matters more within the watch time. And the more seamless it is, like the more the ending just like feeds back into the beginning, then it just creates a constant loop and like it just adds more to the loopable.
Number three, it's low commitment and high frequency. So the viewers don't choose the content, it's chosen for them. So you're not sitting down to watch, you're feeling like micro moments, like little tiny gibbets of everybody's day, which thrives in boredom, waiting, multitasking.
Yeah, so within boredom and stuff like that, so things that you necessarily will like want to do to relieve boredom is humor. Everyone likes to like laugh, get a little bit of like dopamine hit with it when you're watching short form content. We also want shock, something that's relatable, whether it's someone talking about their sad day or how like they're able to relieve it, or just aesthetic pleasure. You see it all the time in like the branding world where people are able to maximizing their colors or just like what they think is beautiful and stuff like that.
If we were to compare like older form versus like short form, so like there's a couple of differences. Long form like assumes like intentional viewing, right? But short form assumes passive discovery. So you're just watching it because it's short or because you want to. Long form rewards like patience, and then short form rewards like instant payoff. So like they're opposite. So like basically like short form isn't short because people are lazy. It's short because platforms are competitive for attention.
And then yeah, so speaking of platforms, we have three big ones that everyone knows about. So right now, TikTok is it's ahead of the game. It's the best one as far as like discovery. Then you have Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. So Instagram Reels are going to be the best ones for like branding and like aesthetics and just identity. And YouTube Shorts, it's really good as far as efficiency. One thing that was really interesting is that TikTok is the most common throughout like all generations, but YouTube is going to be the one that's going to be the most commonly used for like the older generation. And I think that's because it's like the second biggest like search engine. YouTube is going to bring like the most diverse content as far as like when you're just scrolling on YouTube Shorts, it's going to be like the most diverse versus like Instagram. You pretty much stick within like your top three topics that you're constantly searching on.
Don't forget
Yeah.
Vine. We cannot not
Oh
forget
yeah.
about Vine. Vine started it all. Vine showed us short form. It was the first one that could show us that short form like does work. Short form didn't win because it's shorter. It won because platforms like engineered it to fit modern attention, emotion, and behavior.
Yeah, really interesting. I think you guys nailed the definition and the exploration of the different platforms. And you mentioned something really interesting at the end, and it's that the platforms themselves are optimizing for short form content. So I guess a logical question to follow that would be why is it that these platforms are favoring short form content now?
Yeah, that's a great question to ask. And it's really important when people are working for these platforms and also as a viewer to understand like how short form is shaping our viewer experience. So there's actually a lot of science behind why short form is favored and why it's working so well on platforms right now. And the first thing is this dopamine reward loop that we see, which is like this scroll addiction mechanism. I'm sure we've all got like stuck on our phones, just going through TikTok or going through YouTube Shorts or going through Instagram Reels. And we just get stuck in that because we're getting instant dopamine release every time we scroll. And I actually found a study that said there was a 23% dopamine increase after just 30 minutes of short form viewing versus a longer content. It's kind of interesting how this short form content is promoting like different kinds of hormones that we're seeing versus other types of like longer form content. So it's neurologically like reinforcing this kind of gratification bias. So that's the other thing. Like this gratification bias is constantly happening, and our attention spans are gradually shortening as time goes on. I think right now the scientific fact is that the average attention span is about 8 seconds. So that also tailors to the short form content and why we're so addicted to it, why we continuously keep scrolling. And then also, short form kind of turns viewers into active participants. So they're not just watching a video, but they're also like swiping, they're hunting, they're choosing what they want to see. And that kind of increases this behavioral like reinforcement and lengthens the session like length of how long they're going to stay on that platform for. And then lastly, the last thing that I kind of want to bring up about this is that it also increases like ad opportunities for platforms. It's able to like seamlessly like work ads into the algorithm without it being like abrupt or random. They can throw in like shorter ads and it's going to promote more scrolls and more ad placements through these short form platforms.
Yeah, I think the businesses obviously see these studies and they know how people receive these videos and almost the passive consumption of they can be scrolling and not even realize they're watching an ad and they're seeing an advert for a company. And they didn't even realize they're just taking it all in so quickly. I think also from a business standpoint, there's such a low production cost in terms of short videos. We know from Funktasy ourselves, the creative supply is infinite. We can just produce videos constantly, wherever you are. It requires less planning, less skills. And with it being infinite, the platform can grow from basically nothing so quickly. And it just gives you that advantage in terms of speed. Also, I think another reason that the platforms use short videos so much is due to full screen immersion and one hand use. The short video portrait is almost native to the mobile phone. I think it also fits in with multitasking lifestyles, whether you're just like you say, with if you want a quick dopamine hit, you could be in a queue, you could be on the toilet, and just fit one little video in. And the platforms know how often people use, even without thinking about it. There's times that I myself would shut down a platform and then open up the same platform without even thinking about it. And I think, yeah, they know the science behind it and they're really utilizing that to their advantage.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think so. On one hand, we have the platform's perspective, but they're very in touch with our own perspective of how we react to this type of content. Maybe we can explore that topic a bit more on why ourselves as the consumers, why do we respond so well to this short form?
I think it's actually pretty safe to say that social media content has changed a lot within the last years. I mean, if you look back around 12 years ago, social media was way more text heavy than it is now. Now it's very visual. It releases dopamine. It's just way more easily processable for the brain also because the brain actually reacts stronger to images and visual information as it processes this information faster. I think we do actually react so strongly to short form content because short form content sums up the most essential information that you need about a topic. So our brain doesn't have to filter through any irrelevant information that just is not, it's just not necessary to have. And if you have, for example, a longer text and you have to read through that, then the brain has to automatically filters all this information and it exhausts the brain. So we easily get tired, especially in a world nowadays where information is just so easily accessible. Like every second we receive something new, we get to know something new, and also worldwide from everywhere. Basically, it's just natural that people tend to prefer content that is just easily to take in. The attention span and the feelings that we have when we watch content, and also the hormones and the dopamine, like I said before, that is actually released. I think short form content is designed in a way that it makes people emotionally invested. And so, as our brains are getting stimulated all the time, we just prefer to interact with that because it makes us curious, it entertains us, and it informs us.
Really, really in-depth and very insightful. Thank you very much. And I think throughout this whole discussion, we kind of went from the platform to the consumer, but we skipped one important person, and that is the content creators themselves. Do you guys think there was some kind of like a creative shift or an adaptation that was needed with the rise of short form content?
Yeah, totally. I think the most important and safest thing to say is that content is now built around trends, not basically just original ideas like from scratch, which basically develop like a remix culture, we could say, which be like people reuse sounds, form, and templates. It's not them like kind of like coming up with something, it's people reusing the trends. And then the safest app, I would say it's Musically, how it ended up being TikTok. On like 2016, it was basically lip sync. That's it. And now literally TikTok has a trend, especially now that we came at 2026, of like recreating Musically like 10 years ago, basically like lip syncing and everything. And now it's more like storytelling, humor videos, and more entertaining because basically trends move very fast. So creators have to react really quick.
I do think pointing out the fact that TikTok originated as Musically is important when looking at content creators, because Musically was built for borrowing content. It sort of made it more normal to use somebody else's content for yours. And of course, it started out with just music, but eventually it started to incorporate videos so you can do stitching or duets. So reaction content was, of course, the original reason for adding videos, but eventually people started just reposting other people's videos as well as movie clips, which in a way leveled the playing field because now you didn't need to have expensive gear or know how to do very much editing to post content to TikTok or to YouTube Shorts. You can do it from your car. You can borrow people's content that's already been published on YouTube or just on TikTok and get views, which does also affect the quality that we have become used to. More robust tools like After Effects and Premiere were the industry standard for a long time, even on social media. But with TikTok, more simplistic, almost low quality edits became the norm.
Yeah, like mentioning that, I think there's a lot of important trade-offs that I think we should mention before like wrapping this up, especially that we're used to constant stimulation and fast rewards, and our attention spans are getting shorter. There's actually a study that I read the other day that if you try to remember the 10 past videos you scrolled, probably you won't remember any or just one that was the one that you fully watched. So engagement is quick, but it's not very deep. So like the three first seconds, I believe they are the most important ones.
That 3 second focus of hooking people in has really affected not just short form content, but also long form. I remember a few years ago, a YouTube channel known as The Game Theorists talked about how short form video has affected their own videos. Long form videos have started feeling more like compilations of TikToks with shifts in typography, shifts in music, dramatic cuts between clips, lots of filters. Long form content certainly has felt the impact of TikTok and short form content. I think one thing, though, about the reaction to all this of what's next for short form content is we're seeing a reaction to all of this. People who are experiencing all of these shorter attention spans and overstimulation with bright colors and loud music. We're realizing this. And recently, we've seen TikTok and YouTube Shorts roll out mid-form content. So now shorts aren't just 60 seconds, they can be up to 5 minutes. And I have seen, especially people who do documentary work on social media, take advantage of that. They're able to dive deeper into topics with the longer videos.
Awesome. I think you guys really captured the essence of every change that kind of brought in short form, but also in future what we could expect, and also the trade-offs and limitations. I think that's a very nice closing statement, what you guys just talked about. We've kind of seen that short form video didn't become what it is just because it's the most meaningful or the most artistic. I'd say far from it. It's more because of the systems that have been developed, and the short form was just the best fit for everything that was happening. It's been a lot of factors were in play, as you guys have discussed. And I think maybe we can leave an interesting question to the viewer to think about, which is, I think it's safe to say that short form content will not disappear, but maybe it's interesting to think about what would need to change in order for something to replace short form content. We can think a bit about what Dakota was saying at the end, but we can let that simmer, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. And in the meantime, I'd like to thank everyone in the panel for their amazing insights and on the topic. It was a very fruitful discussion. It was really nice to hear everyone's opinions. And I hope everyone watching as well also enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode.